Like, share and subscribe because it is free. Telly's eyes opened to a sky veiled in ash. She lay on jagged ground scorched by acid rain, each breath burning. The wind carried distant howls. She pushed herself up, scanning the wasteland. Her lavender skin offered no comfort under bleak light. Memories flickered, voices declaring her a failure, a liability. She stumbled forward, each step in agony on sharp rocks. Her people, the Zirani, condemned her for empathy, a flaw in their logical society. Compassion endangered progress. She recalled being dragged from her pod by emotionless figures, struck for questioning orders. Tears welled but offered no relief. She swallowed them. A screech made her freeze. Shadows shifted among twisted formations. Varrock, 7 housed thorn maws. Colossal serpents armored in chitin, eyes glowing with intent. She darted into a hollowed crevice, pressing against its cool wall as acidic droplets sizzled the earth. Each monstrous footfall rattled the ground. Panic surged as each breath scorched her lungs. Memories of the pod's sterile calm felt like a distant dream. Pressed against the crevice, she remembered mending an injured insect, her fingers brushing its torn wing. Her mother called it wasted effort. An insect was nothing. But Telly felt its pain. Her heart ached. That kindness marked her defective. Now, in silence, she wondered if she would ever matter. She whispered pleas to unseen forces, wishing for rescue that seemed impossible. Every rustle of dead foliage tightened her chest, reminding her how alone she truly was. Hunger gnawed at her, but fear burned stronger. She closed her eyes, hoping for rescue, then heard deliberate steps. She stiffened, expecting a monster's roar. Instead, a voice, "Hey kid, you hurt?" Soft words threaded her panic. She peeked over the crevice edge at a figure in armor. Her pulse thundered, breath shaky and ragged. Her heart hammered. She had never seen a species that valued emotion. The stranger knelt, holding a small vial. Instinct screamed to flee, yet curiosity pinned her. The wind shifted, carrying a growl, but his calm voice stayed her. She crept forward and took the vial. Unscrewing the cap, she pressed it to her lips. Cool fluid eased the burn. He watched without impatience as her gaze slid to a battered translator on his belt. He tapped it, and lights flickered. "I'm Rex Nolan," he said, voice in her tongue. "You're safe now." Telly blinked, uncertain. Her species prized efficiency. In his care she sensed something forbidden, a force stronger than logic. She nodded. He offered a hand. Her fingertips brushed his palm, and she felt a warmth defying her logic. A low roar signaled a thornmaw nearby. Rex rose and pulled Telly to her feet. He slung a pack over one shoulder and motioned toward a distant ridge where the horizon glowed faintly through ash. Feet pounding, he led her away as the ground trembled beneath them. Telly squeezed his hand, trust blooming against all odds. Ahead lay the unknown, but with him, she had hope, fragile but real, guiding her forward into uncertain futures. Rex adjusted the straps on his pack and knelt beside Telly, whose lavender eyes remained wide with uncertain curiosity. The air crackled around them, but he offered quiet assurance. He removed his helmet, revealing scars etched across his forehead. She stared at his human features, rough stubble, gentle eyes, and a small smile. Telly's pulse fluttered as she watched Rex produce a handheld drone and run diagnostics, humming a soft tune that seemed impossible under ash. She had never associated work with melody. His focus was calm, each movement careful. He produced a packet of preserved nutrients and held it out. Telly hesitated, then took it, tearing it open with trembling fingers. The sustenance was warm, sweet, nourishing. Relief bloomed in her stomach. Rex nodded once. His translator flickered to life with a blue glow. He tapped its surface, and a mechanical voice rendered his words in her tongue. "Take small bites. Your body needs strength." Her people called compassion a flaw. Here, it felt essential. As she ate, Rex scanned her for injuries. His gloved hand lingered near a bruise on her arm. She flinched, but he withdrew. "Got a scratch," he said through the device. "Use this." He handed her synthetic ointment and a sterile strip. As she applied it, she felt cooling relief. Rex stood and signaled for her to follow. She rose. With each step, she noted his protective movements. He checked a map on his wrist console, then pointed toward a ridge where broken structures peeked through ash. "Shelter," his translator said. "We'll rest there until extraction arrives." Telly glanced at him, confusion melting into tentative trust. No words emerged. He knelt and produced a worn plush toy, a pink orb with stubby legs. It was a pig, an earth creature. He held it out. "Lucky charm," his translator said. Her fingers brushed the soft fabric. It felt absurd and precious. Under the ashen sky, he shared stories. Through the translator, he described rain that cleansed instead of corroded, creatures that purred and nuzzled, nights watched from windows instead of rocky crevices. Telly absorbed each glimpse of warmth. She pictured a world where empathy was celebrated. They reached the derelict hull of a cargo vessel. Rex pried open a hatch and guided her inside. Darkness enveloped them. He activated a lamp, its hum gentle. Shadows danced on warped metal walls. He placed the plush toy on a crate and motioned for her to sit. She lowered herself, clutching it like a lifeline. Rex sat beside her, tapping his console. A holographic emblem of the Interstellar Human Alliance appeared. "Help's coming," he said. "Stay close." She nodded, fear replaced by fragile hope. The translator beeped, confirming incoming messages. In silence broken only by hums, they waited. She looked at Rex, gratitude and curiosity shining in her eyes, and knew their bond existed. In that moment, Telly realized that logic could not measure compassion's value. Humanity, in its chaos, had saved a life deemed worthless by an indifferent empire. Rex tested the respirator's filter and motioned for Telly to follow as he exited the metal hull. Outside, ash swirled through the air, and the faint outline of a derelict cargo ship bulged against a long slope of debris. Each step required careful footing. The ground was unstable, sharp shards jutting upward from the ashen crust. Telly clutched the plush pig, pressing it to her chest while matching his pace. They moved in silence, their figures blurred in the haze. Halfway to the vessel, a low rumble echoed across the plain. The ground tremored beneath their boots. Rex stopped and dropped to one knee, raising a gloved hand to signal Telly to crouch. She pressed herself against a pile of twisted metal, her heart pounding. In the distance, a thorn maw emerged, a towering beast, serpentine form clad in hardened scales, multiple eyes gleaming with hunger. Its massive coils shifted toward them with terrifying speed. Rex rose slowly, pulling Telly behind a rock. He extended his arm, ensuring she stayed behind him. His helmet's light bounced across the creature's scaled hide. As it advanced, he tapped his wrist console, activating a proximity mine. Quiet thrusters lifted it into position before dropping it. The mine settled and glowed red. When the thorn maw lunged, Rex detonated it, releasing a concussive blast that threw him off balance. Shrapnel grazed his shoulder, and he crashed against the ground. Pain flared sharply. He coughed through his mask, blood salty on his lips. The monster roared but appeared wounded, recoiling. Seizing the opportunity, Rex crawled toward Telly, pulling her backward while dragging himself away from the blast site. She stumbled to her feet, panic flooding her chest as the beast recovered, its eyes fixed on them. Rex yanked Telly into a narrow crevice between two rusted hulls. She huddled beside him as he applied a tourniquet to his shoulder. The fabric stripped from his uniform cinched tightly around the wound. She held the plush toy in one hand and a makeshift bandage in the other. Telly pressed compresses into the cut, her small hands working with surprising steadiness. He winced but managed a nod. Telly recited the Zirani healing chant softly, an ancient phrase of protection she learned from her mother. It comforted her, even if her species viewed compassion as weakness. She whispered the final syllable and applied a sterile strip. Rex's breathing steadied. He looked at her, gratitude shining behind his visor. The thornmaw's roar grew louder as it closed the distance. Rex retrieved a canister of flammable compound and ignited it with a handheld torch, creating a makeshift flame projector. He aimed at the beast's face, fire searing through its sensory receptors. The creature staggered, eyes rolling. Rex grabbed Telly and bolted toward the cargo ship's ramp. Metal groaned under their weight as they sprinted inside. The interior was dark and silent, corridors dimly lit by flickering emergency lights. Rex dragged himself along the floor, pulling Telly until they reached a central chamber. He located a damaged control panel and forced it open, routing power to a sensor array. Sparks flew as the system rebooted. Telly connected a cable from the beacon to the panel, and a sharp beep signaled activation. Moments later, distant engines droned, signaling rescue was near. Rex collapsed against a wall, exhaustion overtaking him. Telly dropped to her knees beside him, tears mixing with ash on her cheeks. She had saved him through her care and presence. A final roar thundered behind them as the Thornmaw tore through the hull, faster than expected. Rex grabbed Telly's hand and pulled her toward a side exit. He pressed a charging cable to her chest, infusing her life support with his surplus energy. She inhaled, chest rising and falling in relief. With one last effort, he pushed her through the exit hatch. She stumbled outside as rescue ships descended, and the alien child turned back, raising a trembling hand. Rex reached out, their eyes meeting. The ground shook as the beast crashed through the wall. Rex positioned himself between it and Telly, a human shield unwavering. Telly watched, frozen, as the Thornmaw lunged. Then, a barrage of laser fire erupted from the rescue team. The beast fell, its massive body collapsing into ash. Rex sagged to the ground, wounded but alive. Telly knelt beside him, pressing her hand to his chest. Beyond the heat and danger, she recognized what made humans extraordinary. They risk everything for others, even in the face of monsters. The rescue ships hovered above the haze, their spotlights cutting through ash-choked air. Soldiers in armored exosuits descended on cables, landing with thuds that rattled the ground. Telly scrambled forward, her small frame trembling as she reached Rex's side. His breathing was shallow, eyes fluttering as medtechs surrounded them. She pressed her hand to his cheek, feeling warmth despite the blood that seeped through his uniform. A medic knelt beside Rex, checking vitals with cool efficiency. "Hold still, kid," a voice said. Telly nodded, fear caught in her throat as instruments beeped. One of the medics retrieved a floral-patterned strip from Telly's pocket, the plush pig's fabric, and placed it gently on Rex's prostrate form. The medic offered a soft nod before his visor closed, obscuring his expression. Telly clutched the toy, eyes never leaving Rex's face as the pain etched in his features eased under professional care. A commanding officer approached, translator in hand, and knelt beside Telly. "Your guardian saved us all," he said. "We owe him our lives." His words trembled through the speaker. Telly's chest tightened as she realized the truth. Humans saw value where her own people saw flaw. She swallowed, voice cracking. "He saved me." The officer's visor flickered blue, processing her words. He nodded, rising to contact the ship. "Prepare an evac for both of you. You're coming home." The cargo plane's interior glowed with harsh fluorescent light as Rex lay strapped to a stretcher. Telly hovered beside him, the plush pig tucked under her arm. She watched every flicker of Rex's eyelids, ache threading through her heart as his chest rose and fell with mechanical regularity. Medics adjusted tubes and checks monitors. Rex stirred, groaning softly. Telly reached forward, brushing his forehead. His eyes opened, locking with hers, luminous pools of gratitude. He attempted a smile, and she returned one, the weight of each conveying unspoken promises. Around them, the plane vibrated with thrust, carrying them toward hope. On board the medical frigate, harsh lights were replaced by a calming antiseptic scent and soft blue illumination. A doctor examined Rex, gesturing for Telly to sit on a turquoise cot. She obeyed, placing the plush pig on her lap. The doctor's touch was gentle as he checked Telly's vitals. "You'll be fine," he said in her tongue voice even. Relief rolled through her. She nodded, hugging the toy against her chest. Outside the window, distant stars glittered against the void. For the first time, Telly felt small in a safe way. Rex awakened, disoriented. His gaze settled on Telly, who knelt beside him. His throat was dry. He rasped, "You okay?" She nodded, her translation device unneeded for a simple look. He reached up and touched her hand, fingers brushing her skin. She felt a surge of warmth, proof that compassion mattered beyond logic. Days later, in a sterile conference room aboard the flagship of the Interstellar Human Alliance, Telly sat beside high-ranking diplomats. A ceremony declared her an honorary citizen. Photographs showed her draped in a human ceremonial sash. Officials praised Rex's bravery, and Telly recounted her story with steady voice, how a child deemed useless became a bridge between worlds. She spoke of kindness, of a heart's power to change destinies. The room fell silent, eyes glistening as they recognized what it meant to fight for the weak. As applause echoed, Telly stood and locked eyes with Rex, now fully healed, standing in uniform. He saluted, pride and affection shining in his gaze. She returned it, a single tear tracing her cheek. The plenary hall's lights dimmed, and holographic projections of distant alien worlds shimmered around them. Telly raised her hand, pointing upward. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. In that moment, every being present understood, humanity's heart was its greatest weapon, and its light would forever guide those lost in darkness.